Welcome to another fabulous episode of Reviewing Stuff. It's epic. And right now, let's go on to our next strategy called the Big Seven. Alright, so some of y'all may have learned this last year. Basically, it starts off the same. Here is your division problem that we did previously. Haha, look at those fancy high-tech previously on reviewing stuff. Yeah, there was our base 10 example, right? So we split up all of our, we changed the hundreds for tens, and then we divvied out the tens, and by the time we got done with divvying out 24 tens, there was 2 tens in each group, and then we had 8 left over as the remainder. So with the big 7, what we're going to do is we're going to use, like our math abilities, and now that we know the zeros trick, it's going to help us a lot as well. Here's the thing. We're going to just subtract randomly to get rid of 248. All right? We're going to get as close as possible to getting rid of all 248 with groups of 12. All right? That's the only thing. We're going to use groups of 12. So let's think for a second. 12 times 1 equals 12. We could repeatedly subtract 12, and eventually we'll get to the end of this problem. However, that would take a long time. So let's think a little bit bigger. Let's think about the zeros trick that we learned last week, right? So if we cover up the 0, we have 12 times 1, right? Which we already know is 12. Covered up 1 0, so let's put it back on. So could we remove 10 groups of 12? Let's try that. All right, so what I mean by removing 10 groups of 12, we want to remove 10 groups of 12. So basically 10 times 12 equals 120, right? So the first thing we're doing is we're just going to subtract 120. Get rid of it. All right, so 8 minus 0 is 8. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So now we've gotten rid of 10 groups of 12, and we still have 128. Could we get rid of another 10 groups of 12? Well, we decided that 10 times 12 is 120, and 120 is smaller than 128, so yeah, we could take away another 10 groups. So 8 minus 0 is 8, 2 minus 2 is 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, and there we have 8. We have 8 left over. All right? So we can't take out another group of 12 since our remaining number is smaller than our divisor. Remember, fancy name for the number on the outside. So since our remaining number is smaller than the divisor, then this remaining number is just that. It's the remainder. So let's count how many groups of 12 we took out. We took out 10 groups of 12, another 10 groups of 12. So we took out 20 groups of 12 and had 8 left over. So there's 20, remainder 8. Now, you could do this a couple different ways. I'm going to scoot my mic over so it might make a noise. So you can use the big 7. But let's say that on this last one, you noticed that, well, 10 groups of 12 is 120. So you're thinking, I bet I could take out 20 groups of 12 in one step. So 20 times 12, right? You can still use the zeros trick. Cover up that 0. 2 times 12 is 24. And then put that 0 back on there. I'm sorry, I'm running out of room. So what that says right there is 20 groups of 12 is 240. So in one step, we could take out 240. And we know we did 20 groups. And once again, this number left over is smaller than our divisor, so there's a remainder. All right, so that was the big 7 in one step. If you're using the zeros trick, you might be able to see those steps. All right, so what you're essentially doing is taking out groups of the divisor. And my camera's freaking out, so sorry about that. You're taking out groups of the divisor. So in both of these, we ended up taking out 20 groups. In this one, we did 10 at a time. So 10 groups of 12 was 120. 10 more groups of 12 was 120. And then we had 8 left over. On this part, we said that 20 groups of 12 was 240. So we were able to get rid of 240 right away and have a remainder of 8.